So before we start today's video, I thought I'd address something from yesterday that I forgot to include in that video, and also announce something else. So in yesterday's video I talked about who the politicians really represent. What I forgot to mention was a key part: themselves, their own interest, the interests of their friends, some of whom are elitist by nature, they themselves are included. Politicians can arguably be defined as corrupt, greedy, self-centered, selfish, and of course the earlier mentioned elitist. Now somebody did ask me if it was like that in the UK. To an extent it is. Hashtag not all though. But it's certainly worth considering, when an MP is in office, who they really serve. I would argue at that point a constituency is secondary to the office they hold. And of course shadow cabinets can also be considered secondary. The second thing, courtesy of some very lovely generous donors, Stephen, Quax and Ash, I was able to purchase a rather expensive steering wheel. So tonight, I will be streaming at 9:30 PM over on the Omegon Plays channel, but also over on Twitch. The Real Omegon, linked below. I'm trying to get my follower base up over on Twitch, so if you could consider following me over there, I would greatly appreciate it. I will be streaming some more Euro Truck in France, where I will more than likely crash many times, which should be hilarious. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, an update to Brexit must be made. I know Brexit is supposed to be coming to an end on the 29th of March. It's unlikely. It will instead more than likely be extended for up to 2 more years. I am so happy. Unless of course the EU reject the offer of extending Article 50, in which case, no deal it is. Now Theresa May's tactic was to try and wear down her own MPs, so much so that after continually bringing her deal to the table to be voted for or against in Parliament, she would eventually manage to erode the gap, which started up at around 200, down to 150, and then she believed she'd be able to erode that gap even further today. However, in a rather interesting turn of events, the Speaker of a House, John Bercow, has decided to throw what could be considered to be a spanner in the works. He decides which amendments are debated and of course voted on. It is his job to do that. Many have argued he's an ardent Remainer. I believe he is a Remain voter, but he has shown remarkable callousness towards both sides, and he has selected the ones he believes hold within themselves the most promise of a healthy debate and subsequent voting. I'm going to play a rather lengthy clip of him giving a statement, because this statement is important. If you don't want to listen to it, by all means I will put a timestamp when I continue this video after he has given his statement on this.
It has been strongly rumoured, though I have not received confirmation of this, that third and even possibly fourth meaningful vote motions will be attempted. Hence this statement, which is designed to signal what would be orderly and what would not. This is my conclusion. If the government wishes to bring forward a new proposition that is neither the same nor substantially the same as that disposed of by the House on the 12th of March, this would be entirely in order. What the government cannot legitimately do is to resubmit to the House the same proposition, or substantially the same proposition, as that of last week, which was rejected by 149 votes. This ruling should not be regarded as my last word on the subject. It is simply meant to indicate the test which the government must meet in order for me to rule that a third meaningful vote can legitimately be held in this parliamentary session. Order.
So that excerpt was about a minute long, and it's from a 10-minute speech he gave during a 4-hour parliamentary session where they discussed this. Some of the points that I took away from it included the fact that there was an inconsistency with how he, as the chair, has administered certain powers he has, in the sense that the same amendments have repeatedly been brought forward, and he has often selected the same ones, merely submitted by a different MP, but the same amendment nonetheless. Most notably, one could simply look at those calling for a second referendum, or, and of course not the same, a people's vote on the deal or no deal, or simply removing leave from the ballot. Other amendments including revoking Article 50. These ones have cropped up repeatedly. Drawing on history is one of those fantastic ways of showing just how arcane our system is, but I do appreciate this, because you should not have the right to continually bring the same thing to the table and expect a different result. I believe that is the very definition of insanity, or is it stupidity? Let's face it, at this point, it's arrogance. It is absolute arrogance. Typical, really, of a politician, I guess, falling in line with what I earlier said. Maybe we should add that to the list of characteristics that are synonymous with certain types of politicians who believe they are better than everyone else. I will link a 10-minute video below which covers all of what Bercow said. I would have played clips of that one instead, but the dickhead who uploaded it has a huge watermark across the centre of it, which I think is quite discourteous, since he just ripped it from the UK Parliament YouTube channel. We know this because the watermark in the bottom right hand corner of the video itself. Dickhead. Another great thing about the system we have, that actually put the speaker on the spot that led him to make this decision, was that somebody else noted on 4 separate occasions that this has happened in the last many hundreds of years that this law has even existed, or parliamentary power, whichever you prefer really. That shows remarkable intelligence, and it really does keep and hold the speaker to the mark, because Theresa May is showing she doesn't have any ideas, and we know this because the turd she keeps bringing forward just looks like somebody sprayed some pledge on it. For those who don't know what pledge is, it's polish. I would assume lavender scented. I am not one of the biggest fans of the current speaker. I do think he does his job reasonably well, and I think this statement says a lot about his tenure as speaker, because he is not willing to let the government continue to bring the same bill to the table, which won't get changed, which now throws the biggest spanner in Brexit, in the sense that we now no longer know what is going to happen next. We don't know if the EU is going to grant us an extension. My personal belief on this now is that no deal is the best option for us. It is fundamentally disagreed upon by many people, hundreds of which happen to be in that room that the speaker spoke in. But I do believe it is the best option for us to have more power to negotiate a new deal with the EU on our terms. And that way, we are then able to negotiate with everyone else around the world. Yes, this does mean for a while things will be tough, but I am more than happy to take risks, because I firmly believe unless you take a leap of faith and take that risk, you'll never know how good it could get, because playing it easy isn't always the best option. It is somewhat, while safe, cowardly, and also goes against the whole democratic process of voting to leave, especially if we actually went with Theresa May's deal. So, to summarise, I fully support what the speaker has done, because quite frankly, it makes a mockery of the parliamentary process to keep bringing the same thing forward, while respecting the fact that I know Bercow is a Remainer. It is good that he is putting Theresa May in a remarkably difficult position. I think we're done here. If I don't see you tonight over on Omegon Plays or Twitch, have a lovely Tuesday, and thank you all for listening.
Cthulhu.